So my journey with mental health started a while back with me being in foster care. I was in the foster care system for about 17 plus years. I got put in foster care when I was about maybe 6 years old. And that came about due to an abusive stepfather. And one of my brothers snuck out, go hang out with his friends, you know, kids being kids. Stepfather didn't want him to, and he snuck out anyway. And upon his returning home, my stepfather was drunk, and upon him coming home, you know, he was waiting on him. He beat my brother like he was a grown man with his fist, and he would, you know, bleeding in the face and stuff like that, spitting up blood. After he went to sleep, my brother, you know, ran away from the house, and I was there with my other siblings, my sisters, and them that were younger than me, you know, watching, seeing this. You know, we were terrified and afraid, we were helpless because you can't do anything to help. So he managed to run away, and he went back to his friend's house, and their parents called, you know, the police and everything. So the next morning, the house is surrounded with police and DDS, and we're, you know, we're chauffeured out the house. They have him in cuffs, and they're taking him away. And you know, I remember looking back at the house, like, wow, you know, that's you know, last time seen home. And then from that point on, boom, I was cast into the foster care system, that world. And I went from, was constantly moved around, being that, you know, no one wanted to keep you for too long. It was more like temporary things. And then when I was at a place, you know, as far as a home, I, you know, had behavioral issues. You know, as a kid, just going through something like that, you know, realizing, you know, that's not my family, you know. Where's my family? You know, and that was tough dealing with as a kid. So I was shuffled from home to home, and then put in group homes, because if you're not in a foster home, then they put you in group homes. And that was tough, because then you have to prove yourself. You have to deal with getting bullied, getting in fights to just try to protect yourself, because you like the new kid on the block, and you're the new punching bag, rather, because you had older kids too there, you know. So you really had to, you know, be tough and whatnot. So I finally ended up getting a foster home when I was about 9, I think. So from like 6 to like 9, then I ended up getting in a stable home, and I thought it was cool there because one of my siblings was there, my oldest brother. So I was like happy, like, wow, like, I'm around family now, wow. But then he eventually got sent away within the year of me being there, because again, he had issues with acting out behaviorally, and he got in a lot of trouble, unfortunately. He was much older than I. He was in his teens at that time. I think he was 16, 17, somewhere around there. I went through a lot of feelings of being unmeant love, rejection, abandonment, because I wasn't seeing my family. Very rarely, rather, saw them, because there were meetings set up with the DSS that would, you know, try to bring us together and meet, but often it didn't fall through, you know. So it would be months, you know, sometimes before I would see my siblings, and or my mother. My father wasn't present in my life, didn't know who he was. That relationship with, you know, mom, you know, in the minority community, you know, mom is the center point, you know. It's like the matriarch, sort of, mom and grandma of the families, and not being able to see her and being around her and being taken from her. I dealt with a lot. You know, as a kid, you don't put you can't see from the perspective of your parents. And when you get older, you sort of like, oh, you know, you sort of understand. But as a kid, you know, you don't have that ability to see from that perspective. After, you know, being in that mind space and being there for, I think I ended up staying there at that particular residence, somewhere around 12, 13 years at that point, staying with them. And that was tough. That was really tough and challenging, as to the fact that once I aged out of the system, at 18, you get to age out of the system. I was told, hey, if you want to continue to stay here, you still need to be under the foster care system, because the lady that I was staying with, which I thought loved me and I was family. No, if I'm not getting paid for you to stay here, then you can't stay here. So that was like a bombshell, that hit like a ton of bricks type of thing. One of those lasting impressions that was put upon me, that then sort of poured into everything else that I went through as a kid. So it sort of poured right into that type of thing. But that was the start of my journey with mental health, and from that stemmed a lot of different issues that I had to deal with, being trust issues, again feeling unmeant love, abandonment, not being able to express myself and or receive or give love in a healthy manner, because of those aspects of dealing with my childhood, and also dealing with those things that I was diagnosed to with being ADHD. And so then I had to deal with that aspect of adding that onto everything else of dealing with ADHD, and some of the symptoms that play out from that. I end up getting put on medication to help bring those behaviors and get those behaviors under control, until I got a little older in my teens, where then I was able to start to focus myself. And again, I was into martial arts, and they help with meditation and just controlling yourself. The behavioralisms started to express themselves in school. I got in trouble, I got in fights, I got sent to the principal office all the time. I had learning issues where I couldn't focus because of my attention deficits. And again, I was labeled with ADHD, and those different characteristics from the ADHD manifested themselves that way. Not having the ability to focus and or expressing myself negatively when I was made fun of or picked on because of my lack of ability at that time to learn or understand what I was learning. So I would get angry and, of course, act out and lash out. And I got sent to the principal office quite often at that time when I was a kid. Trusting people, that was very difficult, trusting, because of what I went through, again, with feeling unloved, abandonment, not knowing if I would ever see family again, so forth and so on. So that trusting was hard for me to garner from people or give, rather. And the resources in which were most helpful were friends and teachers. The teachers in my life throughout my journey have been paramount. They have helped me so much that is just unbelievable, because they actually showed a tremendous care and love for my well-being, and actually wanted me to be successful as far as improve myself and put me on a good path. And my friends that I made in that time have been friends from day one. They have not disappointed at all. They've never passed judgment on me. They've never looked down on me. They've never made me feel less than myself. They always uplifted and supported me. And we have been friends since, I believe, elementary, I believe. And so those have been the biggest people, I would say. And also my mentor. And he's been more like a father figure as well, and a mentor. And we're still very close today. We hang out all the time. He's a father as well. I'm a father. So our kids know each other, and we have the best relationship. And he's still teaching me a lot just about being a man. I remember wanting to run away, and I was about a teenager at this point. Packed my bags, I drawn out my plan and what I wanted to do. I had no idea where I wanted to go, but I just knew my plan of getting out, and this is the direction I'm gonna head. Got, down the road, and then I sort of heard my mom's voice. And that was strange. That happened because I sort of saw her like the 2 weeks prior. Our neighbors, like 2 or 3 doors down, were avid church goers, and my mother went to church a lot. And so she was friends with this lady. She didn't know I stayed in that neighborhood. She ended up being able to speak to me, and she let me know, hey, this is a good place. And even though I didn't feel that way, she was saying that due to the fact that I can see you here. I'm within reach to come and see you, and it's okay for the people that you're staying with for me to stop by. So she told me, do your best. If things get difficult, just stay focused and just do your very best that you can do. I'm here for you. And I remember, her saying those things when I was, running away, because I want to go see mom. I want to go see mom. I want to be with family. And I remember her saying those things, and that helped me turn around and be like, okay, well, maybe this is not a good idea that I do this, and who knows what path I would have went down, or what I would have got into, or what trouble I would have gotten into had I continued that path. The other point I touched on earlier was me being told that I wasn't accepted in the household after I turned 18, because you age out at that age from foster care and DDS, and you have to make a choice. Do you want to continue to stay in the system, or do you want that label off you, or your so-called freedom, in a sense that you're no longer labeled as a foster kid? That comes with sort of stigmas in itself. In school, if when people know about, oh, that's your past and you're a foster kid, you picked on about that. Oh, you're not wanted. Your mother didn't want you, or your family didn't want you, so forth and so on. You get bombarded by that when that information is exposed when you're a kid, and that's hard to deal with, and that was tough dealing with. So to find out from the foster parents that I was staying with after all these years, to say, you're unwanted, we don't want you because we're not getting paid for you anymore. So therefore, you were nothing but a currency for us. And it was never love as I thought it was. It was, we got something in exchange for you being here. That was very difficult to deal with. And that, again, shook me like a ton of rocks hitting you. It took me a long time dealing with that, to the point where a year later, I enrolled in college, and I left. I left. I didn't have a place to stay. I was gonna be homeless. I ended up getting help from my oldest sister, my sibling, and she had kids and stuff galore, and my friends and them too, where I was able to stay with them. And eventually I ended up going to stay with my mom, who had a place, and I was able to stay there and get on my feet, and eventually, get my own place, to where I saved enough money to get my own place and a vehicle. And since that day, I never went back to that place, because it was just, I couldn't believe that that someone who I thought loved me would say that to me. And I wanted to be adopted by them, but that didn't happen. And that was very, again, difficult. Those were very difficult times. How I dealt with those things, again, meditation was very big for me. Being in the martial arts, that was very helpful. Those things taught me how to navigate and express myself in a healthy manner, to where I can control my frustrations, angers, and cope with them appropriately to where I wouldn't lash out on people or just act out and doing something foolish, drinking or whatever, smoking, drinking, and getting down that path to where I'm heading to some form of addiction that's unhealthy. So working out, karate, those things were like my addiction. And those areas or those spaces made me feel accepted, safe, appreciated. They praised my skills and they gave you support. So those are healthy spaces for me that helped me deal with what I was going through. And again, meditation was super big for me, and it still is now. Like I still meditate a lot. Relationship-wise, it was difficult because again, the trust, that dealing with knowing how to express myself, trusting, knowing how to accept love and give it in a healthy manner. Due to what I went to, I was very closed off and sort of like kept to myself. So that affected relationships. You can't, if you want a healthy relationship, that's not healthy when you're trying to establish a healthy relationship. That's unhealthy. When you don't communicate, you don't express, you're closed off. It's a bad recipe. And so that was me. And I had to develop and get over those things and open up and express myself. I sought counseling. So I had therapy to help with that. And that was great. I learned a lot about myself. I learned a lot about where these things stem from, that those things stem from my childhood and the trauma that I went through my childhood. And you try to suppress those things and bury them and say, oh, you're tough. You don't talk about that. You deal with it and you move on. But you're creating a raging fire that'll burn and destroy like everything in your life if you don't deal with it properly and address it. So that's how it affected the relationship-wise. Work-wise, I think I did good work-wise because, again, there was a place of, if you're doing a good job, you get praise for it. You have acceptance. So that was a motivation for me. Do a good job. You get the praise, you get motivation, you get the support and the praise and the attention from your boss, coworker, or the achievements that you're setting work-wise. I wouldn't be engaged. I would be, again, very closed off, standoffish. Sometimes that even gave the people an impression that I was a likable person, that I was mean, and so forth and so on, because that's what I had learned. That's how I learned how to deal with what I was going through. My mentor, that I'm still very much close to now, significant, and helping me deal with my mental health and helping iron out the impurities of that and help forge and shape me into who I am now. I can't give enough praise to the teachers that impacted my life as a kid and it's crazy that sort of like, I guess, God like put these individuals in my life at every stage of schooling, from elementary, middle school, high school, college. That there was a teacher that saw in me potential that I didn't even see in myself, was willing to bend over backwards to help me face the challenges that I was dealing with, and also push me down a path that would lead me to creating some form of success for myself. And success is different from everybody. I was the first in my family to graduate a college degree, first in my family to have a successful career, first in my family to travel abroad. So I've been up and down the East Coast with my job. I'm an occupational therapist and a professional photographer. So I've been up and down the East Coast traveling as a therapist, and that hadn't been done by my family before. So I was the first one in my family to do so. So that was pretty rewarding. And that's due to the people that I met that influenced my life. Again, my teachers, my mentor, and my friends were all significant individuals that played a huge part in my life, and I wouldn't be where I am today without those individuals. I got picked on a lot from my peers, especially middle school, high school. I got picked on a lot. That was difficult because you try to shake it and you try to like brush it off, but every day you hear it. You're hearing something every day, you know, not all the time throughout the day, but someone wants to say something to be funny, to get a crack, to get a smile or a laughter out of the group. And the misunderstanding, again, just because I had learning disabilities didn't mean I was ill, mentally ill, or incapable, or not worthy. You see what I'm saying? So when you're young and been around kids, they're mean, and that's just how it is. But you deal with it. So I think that was a very difficult time of my life, dealing with those things and just trying to cope. And I didn't let that break me because, again, I credit the meditation and being in the martial arts. I got in maybe 2 fights in high school, but I didn't start them. I didn't express myself negatively to initiate it, even though I was being picked on. It was a defense. It was total defense. I didn't get suspended, or I had to get suspended because it was a fight, but I got like 3 days suspended while the other person got, like, you know, both situations 10 days. But it was me just acting in defense, and you had people saying, hey, you know, he wasn't the one that started this, and so forth and so on. And I'm saying that to say that martial arts and the meditation helped me be able to put myself in a state of mind to where I felt like I tried to deal with that the best as I could and not express myself in a negative manner. And that still goes on with me today, even, you know, if someone says something mean or I'm treated a certain way. Take a deep breath, breathe, and, you know, let it roll off your back. Definitely discipline. I think discipline is a huge, huge factor in helping dealing with mental health. Creating some form of structure for yourself, a support system, and for me, again, the meditation, so that you can help organize your mind and put things in perspective. So those things have been key for me to help me deal with my mental health issues. And everybody has stuff that they go through, not just me. And some people may go through stuff more traumatic than me. But those things have helped me center myself and really focus on what's important and give me a direction and a path that's clear for me, so I'm not distracted by things that may cause me to be unbalanced. And again, getting caught up in certain things that are just not healthy for you to do, when there's so many other things that you can do that are healthy-wise to help cope, to help you with coping, and again, in a healthy manner, to where you're moving in a forward direction and you're being positive. My big thing that I'm so happy about is my growth as far as being able to express myself, being vulnerable, being open, being willing to share. Not if I'm opening myself up, not feeling exposed and afraid that I'm going to be worried about what people might say or judge me or what have you. I've developed and grown so much to where I don't let that affect me to a point to where I can't operate or I am bothered by it, because that's just a part of life. It's just a part of being human. You're going to deal with hurt, you're going to deal with traumas, you're going to deal with pain, you're going to deal with different types of adversity in your life. But how you cope with it and deal with it represents you. You have total control of that. And I feel like I've grown in that aspect of not letting the issues and the traumas that I've suffered dictate my path in life thus forward, because I have control of that. Even the word mental health, I think there's a lot of confusion around that. It's mental health, oh, you crazy? No, I'm not crazy. I'm not mentally, mental health and mental illnesses they're separate. They're two different things. So I think when sometimes people hear the word mental health, they think you're broken and you're mentally unstable and so forth and so on. But no, it's just everyone deals with mental health. The stressors of life that affect you and make it hard to cope sometimes, everybody goes through that. So I think for me, learning actually what mental health was, and again, bringing it to light and not being afraid to one, admit and be truthful with yourself that, oh, I'm dealing with mental health issues. I'm having anxiety today. I'm dealing with depression. I'm dealing with, feelings of abandonment for me. I'm dealing with feeling lonely. I'm feeling like I don't want to be here anymore. All these different things, and they're influenced by what's going on around us in our environments. Everybody goes through that. Everybody goes through it, and it's just a matter of you being truthful with yourself, addressing it so that it doesn't build and build and build and gets worse. Because sometimes, like I was saying before, we try to push it under the rug, avoid it, not deal with it. Now you got a wildfire burning that can consume and burn everything down because you didn't address it. Being honest with yourself. To me, I think that's a huge barrier. Not being truthful to yourself that you are dealing with mental health issues. And that ties back into the not being aware of what mental health issues are. I think there needs to be a wider spread of education on that to bring to light what it is so people can acknowledge, oh, I'm dealing with this, I go through this, and it's okay. But now how do I deal with it in a way that it doesn't disrupt my life, that it doesn't affect other aspects of my life, it doesn't seep into messing with my relationship, it doesn't seep into disrupting my job, it doesn't seep into me not being able to be a positive, impactful person to my family, my kids, so forth and so on. Even when I didn't understand what mental health was, I wasn't so involved with, trying to know about it. When I was younger, I spoke at the camps that we had with the foster care system. And because I was in it for so long, I sort of was like the poster child, I would say. And also on top of that, I made good decisions with the people that were sent to me, I would say, that God put in place for me, that helped me go on a good path. So I would speak at some of these different camps and engagements that we had. And so I was involved in that and just trying to encourage kids to just be positive and stay focused on trying to make something of themselves, regardless of what we all were experiencing with going through the foster care system. I was a mentor. I liked the big brother thing back home in North Carolina. I also ended up working in group homes, becoming a group home counselor to help at-risk teens and to help try to rehabilitate them behavior-wise so they can transition back into their homes with their parents. I did that for a while, and I actually did that for a couple of years before I became a therapist. And I also ran a bit of a ALF facility for younger adults, and that was pretty cool. I would love to see there be more education, and of course, like in disenfranchised and low socioeconomic communities, the awareness of what that is. I didn't, that's something that I had to learn and accept and admit to that I was going through and facing. So more education and awareness and different outreach programs for that to be available for those communities. By having people that have gone through those issues, which is something I aspire to do, to sort of public speak and give their journeys and their experiences about what they have went through. So hopefully to cause impact and again bring awareness to the mental health uneducated. I want to network with a couple of nonprofit organizations that are around here in Tampa in the Bay Area that do a tremendous job for kids in foster care. One big one is Celebrate Birthdays. They are fantastic, and I'm hoping to network with them so that I can speak and give my journey and how I coped, how I dealt with it, and the available resources that are out there for us, that kids that have went through the system, that there's hope, and hopefully from my journey that they grasp there's hope. You have the ability to change your circumstances and not let what happened to you dictate who you become. I love that word hope. Hope is an amazing word. It's that belief that around the corner there's better, and that is totally possible with you being resilient, determined, disciplining yourself, getting a structure around you, a support, and that can come from anywhere. Again, it doesn't have to be family, it can be friends. It can even be a stranger that just take their time out and they see something in you and your potential and genuinely want to help. Build those systems around you and try your best to grasp support, because they're, again, amazing, amazing anchors to help you along with all those other things. Again, being resilient, disciplined, having the courage to move forward and face the truth of, oh, I'm dealing with mental health issues. This is the way that I need to go in order to put those things in perspective and deal with them properly so that they don't affect my livelihood. I'm an occupational therapist. I work for Pinnacle Home Healthcare right now as a contractor. And also, I'm a professional photographer. Got to throw that plug out there. And you can look me up on Instagram at MattHill_photography and check me out, check my work out. I also have a website. You'll be able to, the hyperlink is up there that you can go and check out.